So for those of you who are still fortunate enough to have access to some form of public broadcasting, we're going to listen now to the speech given by the president just an hour or so ago. It was the president's first public statement in nearly 3 weeks. His whereabouts was unknown after the White House was destroyed by an airstrike on the 20th of July. However, he is alive and well, so here it is.
My fellow Americans, in the face of unprecedented adversity, we stand at the precipice of a new dawn. The world has been plunged into the abyss of World War III, an unyielding conflict that has tested our nation to its core. Our shores have been battered by relentless attacks, our cities reduced to smoldering ruins. Famine and disease stalk our lands, leaving millions in their wake. The air we breathe is thick with the stench of chaos and despair. But amidst this darkness, a flicker of hope remains. The evils that have brought us to this brink will not prevail. America, alongside our steadfast allies, will rise from the ashes and lead the world into a new era. We have witnessed the horrors that Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and their ilk have unleashed upon our world. They seek to impose their tyrannical rule, snuffing out the flames of freedom and democracy. But their ambitions will be met with an unyielding resistance. Our armed forces, the bravest and most capable in human history, stand ready to defend our nation and its values. They will fight with unwavering resolve until victory is ours. Our scientists and engineers are tirelessly working to develop new technologies that will give us an edge over our adversaries. And our citizens, united in spirit, will endure the hardships that lie ahead. We must not allow the devastation that has been wrought upon our country to break our resolve. The millions who have perished in this conflict will not have died in vain. Their sacrifice will serve as a testament to the indomitable spirit of the American people. From the ashes of this war, a new world order will emerge. The old systems and institutions that have failed us will be swept away, replaced by a better, more just, and more equitable society. The Great Reset for mankind will usher in an unprecedented era of prosperity and progress. The path ahead will be fraught with challenges. Millions, perhaps billions, will perish before this conflict is over. The Earth's population will be reduced to a fraction of what it once was, but the human race will live on, stronger and more resilient than ever before. A new system will arise, a system based on the principles of liberty, equality, and the rule of law. It will be a system that values human life above all else, a system that ensures that the horrors of war will never be repeated. My fellow Americans, the road ahead will be arduous, but we must not falter. We are the inheritors of a great legacy, a legacy of freedom, democracy, and innovation. We are the beacon of hope for a better future. Together, we will prevail against the darkness. Together, we will build a new world, a world that is worthy of the sacrifices that have been made. And so let us go forth with courage, determination, and unwavering faith in the destiny of our nation. May God bless America, and may God bless the world.
So, there you have it. Probably a lot shorter than you would have expected. A lot of issues he didn't address in any great detail. However, his Chief of Staff, Howard Mitchell, had this to say to the American people.
The world, as we knew, it is gone. War has come to our shores, and with it, famine, disease, and unimaginable hardship. We are facing a crisis unlike any we've seen before, a true World War III. Fear, uncertainty, and despair are all around us, but I urge you, do not give in to them. Now more than ever, we need to stand together as one nation, united in our resolve to survive and rebuild. I know many of you are facing unimaginable losses, be it loved ones, homes, or livelihoods. But remember this, we are Americans, and we have faced adversity before. We have overcome impossible odds, and we will do so again. Here are the things we must do now. First, we must prioritize safety. Stay informed about the situation in your area and follow the instructions of local authorities. Seek shelter in designated safe zones and be prepared to evacuate if necessary. Second, we need to come together as communities. Help your neighbors, check on the elderly and vulnerable, and share what resources you can. In times of crisis, unity is our greatest strength. Third, we must be prepared for the long haul. This will not be a quick war. We must conserve food and water, maintain basic sanitation, and prepare for the possibility of prolonged hardships. Fourth, we need to hold on to hope. Despair is a powerful enemy, but it will not break us. Remember the resilience of our nation, the strength of our people. We are Americans, and we will rise to meet this challenge. The road ahead will be difficult, filled with uncertainty and sacrifice, but together we will overcome this. Together we will rebuild. Together we will emerge stronger and more united than ever before. This is not the end. This is a new beginning. Let us face this challenge with courage, resilience, and faith in ourselves and in each other. God bless America.
Okay, so some words of advice there for the American people from Chief of Staff Howard Mitchell. We're going to listen now to what British Prime Minister Benjamin Cutcliffe said in his speech to the British public a few moments ago.
In this darkest hour, as the fires of war continue to ravage our once great land and the shadows of destruction hang heavy in the air, I address you with a heart filled with both sorrow and unwavering determination. The enemy has unleashed its vile fury upon our shores, leaving behind a trail of devastation that has shattered lives and broken hearts. Our cities, once vibrant and bustling, now lie in ruins, scarred by the relentless bombardment. Our homes, the havens of our families, have been reduced to mere rubble. But amidst the despair, amidst the wreckage and the pain, a fierce flame burns within us, a flame of defiance, a flame of hope. We will not be broken. We will not surrender. I know that many of you are filled with fear and uncertainty. The enemy has sought to crush our spirit, to make us bow to their tyrannical reign. But I assure you, their efforts will be in vain. We are Britain. We are a nation of resilience, of courage, and of indomitable will. We have faced adversity before, and we have always emerged victorious. And we shall do so again. I give you my solemn word that we will not rest until every last invader has been driven from our shores. We will pursue them relentlessly with all the might and determination at our disposal. To our enemies I say this: you have underestimated or resolved, you have underestimated the strength of the British people. You have underestimated the power of freedom and democracy. You may have inflicted great pain upon us, but you have failed to break our spirit. We will rise from the ashes, stronger than ever before. And when this war is over, when the dust settles and the echoes of battle fade into silence, we will build a new world, a world free from tyranny, a world free from oppression, a world where peace and justice reign supreme. This will be a great reset for the human race. We will learn from the mistakes of the past and create a future worthy of our children and grandchildren. A future where every life is valued, where every voice is heard, where every person has the opportunity to reach their full potential. We will rebuild our cities, our homes, and our lives. We will create a society that is more just, more equitable, and more compassionate than ever before. We will not let the sacrifices of those who have fallen be in vain. We will honor their memory by building a better world, a world that is worthy of their sacrifice. My fellow Britons, the road ahead will be long and arduous, but we will not waver, we will not falter, we will prevail. Together, we will forge a new destiny for our nation and for the world. Together, we will build a better future for ourselves and for generations to come.
So the British Prime Minister there pretty much echoing the words of our own president, similar speeches coming from leaders all over the world as the tide of war shifts once again and the enemy seems to gain the upper hand. The message is one of defiance and resilience. Okay, now we're going to talk to Ernie Statefold. He is a military expert who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he is here to go through some of the possibilities or the likely outcomes of this war, basically what happens next. So Ernie, welcome to the show. Where can you see all this going?
Well, Sarah, this is a pivotal moment, a crossroads. We've seen the unthinkable, the use of tactical nuclear weapons, and the civilian toll is staggering. Millions lost, cities reduced to rubble. The world is a very different place now.
Indeed. What's the strategic landscape like now?
The Axis powers, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, have made significant gains. They've pushed deep into Europe and the Pacific. However, the U.S. and its allies are fighting fiercely. The fight is brutal, but they're holding strong. Despite the losses, the Western powers have a technological advantage. They can leverage precision-guided munitions and cyber warfare.
But with the escalation of nuclear weapons, are we headed toward a full-scale nuclear war?
That's the terrifying possibility, Sarah. The use of tactical nuke that has already crossed the line. But there's a critical element the Axis powers are overlooking. They're fighting a global superpower with a global network of allies. The U.S. has a vast nuclear arsenal, and the world knows they'll use it if threatened.
So there's a chance for diplomacy. Is there any hope for a negotiated settlement?
It's a long shot, Sarah. But the global community, the UN, needs to act decisively. We need to create a space for dialogue, for de-escalation. This conflict, if it continues, will consume every nation. It's time to put aside differences and realize that humanity, our very survival, is at stake.
Powerful words. Thanks for your perspective.
Thank you, Sarah. May sanity prevail.
So talking of the United Nations, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Lombardi, gave us an update on the current state of things around the world, if we needed any reminding. But he spoke a bit about what the United Nations is doing to try and bring an end to this. Many, however, fear that we are well past dialogue and it is a case of last nation standing, and I would have to agree with that. But let's listen to what the Secretary General had to say.
Friends, brothers and sisters of the world, we stand at a precipice. A precipice carved by the relentless tide of conflict. A precipice that threatens to engulf us all. This is not a war fought on distant battlefields, but a war that bleeds into every corner of our planet. It is a war of famine gnawing at the bellies of millions, a war of disease sweeping through our communities, a war of human suffering that leaves no soul untouched. We have, in this moment, witnessed the unimaginable, the specter of nuclear war. Once a distant nightmare has risen from the shadows, casting its chilling shadow over us all. The very tools of our destruction, weapons of unimaginable power, hang precariously above our heads, a constant reminder of the fragile nature of our existence. This conflict is not a battle between nations, but a war against humanity itself. It is a war against our values, against our shared future, against the very fabric of our civilization. As we stand here today, the very foundations of our world are crumbling, and the cries of the innocent echo through the halls of history. Yet, even in the face of such darkness, a flicker of hope remains. A hope that we can rise above this, that we can reject the path of destruction and choose the path of peace. We must, as a global community, come together, not as nations, but as one human family. We need a ceasefire, not just of bullets and bombs, but of hate and prejudice. We need a dialogue not of threats and accusations, but of understanding and empathy. We need a commitment to diplomacy, not a scramble for military dominance. The path ahead is not easy. It will require sacrifices, it will demand courage, and it will test the very limits of our collective will. But let us remember, the path of peace is the only path to a future worthy of our children. The end of this war would spark the beginning of a new world, a world built on the foundations of justice, equity, and sustainable development. A world that embraces diversity, respects human rights, and protects our planet. Let us rise to this challenge. Let us build a world where peace is not just an aspiration, but a reality. Let us create a new world order based on shared responsibility, mutual respect, and the unwavering belief in the inherent dignity of every human being. This is our moment. This is our responsibility. This is our chance to rewrite the narrative of humanity, to leave behind the shadows of war and step into the light of a brighter future. Let us seize this opportunity. Let us choose peace, and let us build a new world together.
That was the United Nations Secretary General there, Antonio Lombardi. All sounds good in theory, but, well, never mind. So the war rages on, with the death toll worldwide estimated to be 42 million after only 6 weeks of fighting. Remember that the Second World War claimed the lives of about 75 million people over 6 years. So this is on a scale like we have never seen, and not forgetting that nuclear weapons have not been used in their full capacity as of yet, but many fear it is only a matter of time before they are. Now, India has not gotten directly involved in the wars yet, but they haven't ruled it out. They have directed their anger towards America and its allies, saying they have brought the war on themselves and dragged the rest of the world into it with them. India has not publicly stated its support for the Axis powers, but the words of India's Prime Minister Advika Abhisheki will not reassure the West.
As the flames of war engulf the globe, casting a long and ominous shadow upon our world, I stand before you today with a heavy heart, compelled to address the dire situation that has befallen us. The thunder of artillery and the screams of the innocent echo in our ears, reminding us of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of war. In this maelstrom of violence, we have witnessed the unleashing of unspeakable atrocities, war crimes that defy the very fabric of human decency. And to our dismay, the United States of America, once hailed as a beacon of freedom and justice, has stood by as a silent accomplice. For decades, America has preached to the world the virtues of democracy and human rights, while simultaneously waging wars of aggression that have left countless dead and shattered nations. The blood of the innocent stains the hands of America, from the ravaged fields of Vietnam to the decimated cities of Iraq. Now, as the world teeters on the brink of nuclear annihilation, America's hypocrisy is laid bare for all to see. They condemn the actions of our adversaries, yet they themselves have engaged in acts of unspeakable barbarism. They invoke the mantle of morality, while their own actions betray their true nature. The serpents in the Vatican have also played a sinister role in this unfolding tragedy. Hiding behind the veil of piety, they have fanned the flames of religious intolerance and sowed seeds of division among nations. Their complicity in the war cannot be denied. And let us not forget the European Union, once a symbol of unity and prosperity, now a fractured and indecisive entity, full of overpaid bureaucrats that have allowed this conflict to escalate unchecked, endangering the lives of millions. India has thus far remained neutral in this conflict, but let it be known that our patience is wearing thin. We will not stand idly by as the world descends into chaos. If necessary, we will take up arms in defense of our people and our values. We will not be swayed by the empty rhetoric of those who have brought us to this perilous precipice. We will not sacrifice our sovereignty or our principles on the altar of foreign aggression. As we navigate these treacherous times, we must not lose sight of our humanity. We must strive to build bridges of understanding rather than erecting walls of division. We must reject the path of violence and embrace the principles of peace and dialogue. I urge all nations to come together and put an end to this senseless bloodshed. Let us work towards a just and lasting resolution that respects the sovereignty of all nations and upholds the fundamental rights of all people. The future of our world hangs in the balance. Let us choose wisely and let us choose peace.
That was the Indian Prime Minister there, certainly not mincing her words. So we've been getting reactions from leaders all over the world. It'd be interesting to hear a statement from one of the Axis powers. It's been a while, but they are keeping tight-lipped and letting their weaponry do the talking. Meanwhile, down under in Australia, they experienced their first real taste of World War III 2 days ago, when Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth were all hit by Chinese airstrikes in quick succession. This came after the Australian Prime Minister Cameron vaguely called the Chinese government, quote, a gang of Kremlin-loving, noodle-slurping, dog-munching mini-Hitlers before formally severing ties with the country. Less than 72 hours later, the first wave of Chinese airstrikes hit Australia, killing more than 11,000 people in the cities of Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth. The Australian Prime Minister had this to say in the aftermath of the strikes.
In this darkest of hours, as the very foundations of our nation tremble beneath the weight of unprovoked and barbaric aggression, I stand before you with a heart filled with unfathomable rage and sorrow. The cowardly airstrikes launched by the communist regime of China upon our cities have left an unspeakable scar upon our land, a scar that will forever serve as a grim reminder of the depravity of our enemies. Sydney, our vibrant and cosmopolitan metropolis, has been reduced to a smouldering ruin. The iconic Sydney Opera House, once a symbol of cultural heritage, now lies shattered, its graceful curves replaced by jagged shards of glass and twisted metal. The streets that once teemed with life are now silent and deserted, save for the heart-wrenching cries of those who have lost loved ones. In Melbourne, the cultural heart of our nation, the vibrant streets of Fitzroy and the bustling laneways of the CBD have been transformed into scenes of utter devastation. University of Melbourne, a beacon of knowledge and enlightenment, has been reduced to rubble. Its centuries-old facade now a shattered testament to the brutality of our foes. Perth, our gateway to the west, has been mercilessly pounded by relentless airstrikes. The stately buildings of St George's Terrace are now nothing more than twisted wreckage, and the once pristine Swan River has been stained crimson with the blood of innocents. Thousands of our fellow Australians have been mercilessly slaughtered in these cowardly attacks. Families have been torn apart, children have been orphaned, and the fabric of our society has been irreparably damaged. The carnage left by these strikes is testament to the heartless and inhumane nature of our adversaries. But let me be clear, Australia will not be cowed by this act of unspeakable violence. We will not succumb to fear or despair. Instead, we will rise from the ashes of this tragedy with an unyielding determination to avenge the innocent lives that have been lost. To the Chinese regime, I say this: you have made a grave mistake. You have underestimated the resolve of the Australian people. We are a nation built on resilience and determination. We have faced adversity before and we have always emerged stronger. This time will be no different. We will rebuild our cities, we will mourn our dead, and we will never forget the atrocities that have been committed against us. And when the time comes, we will exact a terrible vengeance upon those responsible for this heinous crime. To the world, I say this: we must not stand idly by while evil men commit acts of unspeakable brutality. The international community must condemn these actions in the strongest possible terms and hold the Chinese regime accountable for its war crimes. Australia has always been a force for good in the world. We have fought for freedom and democracy, and we have stood up for the rights of the oppressed. We will not allow our way of life to be destroyed by the tyrannical regime that seeks to impose its own twisted ideology upon the world. Together we will prevail. Together we will rebuild our nation and restore it to its former glory. and together we will ensure that those who have committed these atrocities are brought to justice.
I'm sorry, but does he always talk like that? I don't know if he's grief-stricken or what, but God, his voice is so boring, I almost dozed off. The Australian Prime Minister there, talking about the Chinese airstrikes on Australia 2 days ago. The Chinese responded by saying that Australia should, quote, reassess their capabilities in terms of military power and stop flexing what they do not have. Meanwhile, in other parts of the world, the war has left millions.
Yo, what is up, people? DJ Apocalypse here, y'all. DJ Apocalypse, rocking shit, rocking hips. The DJ nibbling on them BJ lips and spanking all the wobbly bits. Welcome back to the show, y'all. I hope y'all keeping safe from the crazy ass shit going. Everybody's having to pop at us. The Chinese, the Russians, Iranians, the North Koreans, and that crazy Lego hair mofo. Indian are getting nasty too. I heard that Anika, whatever her name is, the Indian Prime Minister, dissing US y'all on foreign policies and shit, but like, yeah, we done some bad shit, y'all, but that girl was way out of line. Somebody need to go over to India, the ambassador or whatever, and say, yeah, listen up, y'all, stop running your mouth or we will foobar the shit out of this place, and then just like bitch slap one of their ministers across the face. That's the sort of foreign policy we need to be dishing out, y'all. No, but seriously, you know, your boy DJ Apocalypse, I am a man of love, of peace, of forgiveness, y'all. What I mean is we need to do all I just said in a diplomatic way. Say diplomatic bitch slap, a diplomatic food bar job, y'all. We don't need no India getting involved too. Like, damn, 1.5 million Americans are already dead since this shit kicked off, y'all. And that ain't even including the people who have starved to death or been killed in the riots and looting or died from disease. That is some crazy shit, y'all. So we don't need no Indians getting our backs too. But anyway, like I said, I hope y'all keeping safe. I'm doing okay. I got my stash. I'm making it last. I'm having a blast. And, you know, I was one of those who didn't give the shiniest mother loving shit about prepping for this type of scenario before it kicked off, and lo and behold, I'm actually doing okay. Obviously, the big man is looking out for me. Much respect. Shout out to the big man up there. You know, I'm still playing my tunes, y'all. They keep my sanity intact. I suggest you do the same, y'all, if you have the means to do so. Keep blasting out those tunes. Carry on. Be strong. Be there for whoever needs you. Love, man. That's the key. I can't stress that enough. You stick love into this equation, and this shit is finished tomorrow, y'all. I guarantee you that this shit would be finished tomorrow because it's greed and hate that is driving this shit, y'all. Greed and hate. Simple as that. There's no need to start getting all philosophical on my ass about this shit. Talking about the nature of the human condition and all that shit to explain this. Greed and hate. That's all it is, man. Greed and hate. Power too. I forgot that one, but power is greed. I don't have hate for people, not even towards the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, the North Koreans, whoever else wants to blow the shit out of us. The only hate I have is for hate itself. And because of that, my life is filled with love, but I hate the hate within people, not the person themselves. I hate the greed in the person, not the person themselves, because we all done some bad shit in our lives, y'all. You can't say you haven't, and I've hated others in the past. I've been bitter in the past, been angry, been jealous, and let me tell you, that shit gets you nowhere. Fill your heart and your mind with love. Pray to the big man. He always listens to y'all, even in these darkest times, y'all. This is a mess of our own making, not his. Free will, y'all. That's what we got, and we do with it what we please. We use it for good or evil. It's up to you. You decide, y'all. Now, let's hope that all this shit will ensue. Let's hope that love prevails, and let's listen to some good-ass tunes while we're at it. We got a bit of Phoenix Street, y'all, with Lust for War.
Our civilization, the ideals we hold dear, the very air we breathe are under assault. This is not a conflict of ideology, a clash of political systems, or a battle for resource. This is a war for our very survival. A darkness has fallen upon Europe. For decades, we have witnessed the rise of authoritarianism, of nations driven by a thirst for power and expansion. Now, that darkness has manifested in a brutal, merciless war waged by Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. Their bombs rain down on our cities, our homes, our families. Their weapons of destruction leave behind scars that will take generations to heal. We have seen this before. The echoes of another dark age resonate in our hearts. Hitler and his Nazi regime, seeking domination, unleashed their fury upon Europe. We fought back, united in our defiance against tyranny, and we prevailed. The world remembers the resilience of the human spirit, the courage of those who stood against evil. Today, we face a new enemy, just as ruthless and deadly, but we are not a generation of cowards. We are the children of those who fought for freedom, who held fast in the face of unimaginable horrors. We will not surrender to fear. We will not surrender to despair. We see the devastation wrought by Russia and China. Their bombs have turned our cities into rubble, our streets into rivers of blood. We hear the cries of the innocent, the screams of the wounded, the silence of those who are gone. And with each passing day, the threat of nuclear annihilation looms larger. But we must not succumb to despair. We are not alone in this fight. We stand shoulder to shoulder with our allies, united in our purpose. We stand for freedom, for democracy, for the very future of humanity. The threat is real. The stakes are high, but we have faced challenges before and we have overcome. We are Europeans and we are not afraid. We will fight for our families, for our values, for our very existence. We will remember those who have fallen and we will honor their sacrifice. We will rise from the ashes stronger and more determined than ever. We will survive, we will rebuild, and we will ensure that the light of freedom will never be extinguished. For Europe, for humanity, we will prevail.
Okay, Baptiste, nice talking to you. We stand firmly with our French allies, and like you said, we will
Gonna freestyle this shit, y'all. Here we go. Red alert, siren scream, world on fire, a dystopian dream. Left, right, woke, the labels fade. When the bombs fall, ain't nobody saved. Cities crumble, concrete dust, a generation lost, turn to rust. The apocalypse is here. The final act, the curtains close. No turning back. World War III, the ultimate game. Where winners are none, ain't nobody to blame. We built this tower, built it high. Now it's crashing down. Watch the sky, nuclear winter, freezing cold, the world's a tomb, a story untold. Maybe it's better, maybe it's right to start again from the ashes of night. The internet's gone. No more debate, just the silence of the world's fate. No more tweets, no more likes, just the echo of explosions burning bright.
With war raging on every continent and the level of devastation is immense, Hitler's blitzkrieg bombing campaigns would look like a firework display in comparison to what is being unleashed by the Axis powers of today. Tens of millions of people are dead across the world on day 44 of World War III. 1.5 million in our own country. Estimates in Russia put the number at just over 2 million. In China, about 2.5 million. North Korea, hundreds of thousands. Europe, deaths also in the millions. Africa is in turmoil. The Middle East is in flames. Millions dead there too. We've got famine, disease, pestilence. India is going to kick off soon too. The stands of the world, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, war raging there too. Wars within a war, civil wars, wars between nations. And apparently the Axis powers are starting to get the upper hand. They've taken large swaths of Europe, but the battles for other major cities in Europe continue to rage on. Paris, London, Berlin, Madrid, Rome have still not been taken, but there is talk of massacres occurring as Chinese, Iranian, and North Korean infantry units make their way through towns and villages in Europe. People are being lined up and shot or doused in gasoline and burned alive, and being buried in mass graves according to reports. Hundreds of millions of people worldwide are trying to escape the conflict zones. It's a mass migration of people in all directions searching for a safe haven, but unfortunately there isn't one. As you know, tactical nukes have been used by all sides, including the United States. Actually, we were the first to use them, but neither side has resorted to strategic nukes as of yet. If you're wondering what's the difference between the two, tactical and strategic nukes, well, so was I. So I did a little bit of reading up on them, and so strategic nuclear weapons are generally aimed at destroying the enemy utterly, like wiping out cities, all that stuff. Whereas tactical nukes are intended to be used against specific targets you want to destroy as part of a military campaign. Air bases, troop concentrations, command centers, that sort of thing. So we definitely don't want strategic nukes getting involved. That could spell the end for everybody. Hence the reason why nobody has used them yet. Neither side is willing to take the risk, because if they wipe out an entire city with one, the other side will come back and do the same to them, and so on until eventually we're left with a nuclear wasteland. So let's hope nobody is stupid enough to use one of them. I always imagined World War III would last like 2 days or something, maybe even just a few hours, but obviously not. This has basically turned into a war of attrition. And the scary part is, well, it's all freaking scary, but our very own president said himself that by the time all this is finished, the population will be will be reduced to a fraction of its former amount. He mentioned billions of people dying by the end of this, billions. I don't know if that will be from the war directly or indirect consequences of the war, like famine, disease, all that, but either way, this whole thing is going to get even more ugly. And what the hell are they talking about in all their speeches? Building a new world after it's all finished. A reset or whatever seems a bit presumptuous to me. Or do they know something we don't? Now, call them conspiracy theorists or whatever, but a lot of people are saying they are all in cahoots. Like all of them, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, our very own United States of America, our allies, they're all in cahoots together, that this is all a big show, they all planned it. The shadow government, the puppet masters, they have orchestrated this to bring the population down. They needed a war, and they will never use strategic nukes, because why would they destroy the Earth when they plan to live on it themselves in their perfect utopian world of the future or whatever? But yeah, that's what a lot of people think. This is a way of driving the population down, and drive it down dramatically through the war, which has already killed millions in just 6 weeks. Through famine, through disease, get the population way down. Then the Great Reset will begin. The new world. Now that is just a theory. I'm not saying it's true or that I believe it, although it would not surprise me. But it's an interesting perspective and definitely something worth thinking about, especially when our very own president is saying that billions will die before it's finished. And he said it with a certainty in his voice. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that right now, otherwise I'll just end up down the rabbit hole of my own brain and start ranting for hours on end. So let's just focus on what we do know for certain. The president is a reptilian alien from the planet My Anus. No, just kidding. The main news coming through at the moment is that Canada has suffered a wave of unprecedented strikes in the last couple minutes. We don't know as yet by who. If it's the Chinese or well, let's face it, it probably is the Chinese. They're hitting cities around the world like a giant game of whack-a-mole. So that's the latest news. Canada has been hit by a wave of strikes for the second time. Although the first time it happened 2 weeks ago, it was apparently by accident. Yes, hit by accident 32 times. So I'm not exactly sure what parts of Canada have been hit.
And millions try and flee Europe as the Chinese wave pushes forward. But there have been gains on Chinese territory also, so it's not all bad news. The Allies have taken the port city of Dahai on China's southwest coast, a move the Chinese were not expecting, and more Allied reinforcements are expected in the coming hours. Canada continues to be hit by Chinese and Iranian strikes. The cities of Vancouver, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Calgary have all been hit in the last 20 to 30 minutes. Canadian and Iranian relations took a nosedive a few months before the war, when Canada listed Iran's Revolutionary Guards as a terrorist group. The Canadian Prime Minister is yet to make a statement, but we are expecting to hear one in the next while. Millions are attempting to flee the Middle East, as well as the region experiences its most intense fighting since the start of the war. Beirut has been decimated by Israeli strikes. Meanwhile, Israeli forces and allied troops have crossed the Iranian border in an attempt to push through the country and take Tehran. The United Nations...
Many are saying that these strategic nukes will never be used. I do not believe that for a moment. I think it's only a matter of time before one of them are. And I honestly think that those who are saying they won't be used are absolute morons. I mean, think about it. At some point in this war, the Allied powers or the Axis powers are going to be on the brink of destruction. One side will get the upper hand to the point that the other side is just a crumbling deck of cards, what will the side that's crumbling have to lose? Nothing exactly. And that's when they will use them. When all else has failed, they will use them. But you heard the president for yourself. He said that billions would die before it's over. And that's not going to happen with tactical nuclear strikes, only strategic nuclear weapons. So if he is saying that himself, he knows that eventually that's what's going to happen. It's going to capitulate into all-out nuclear war eventually. And then when the famine and disease that we're already experiencing is multiplied by 20, then before you know it, 90% of the world's population is no more. So that's my warning to you. They will be used. What else is going to happen? If the Axis powers are on the brink of losing, you think they're going to turn around and say, oops, sorry about all that killing we did. Let's just pretend that nothing happened and just get on with our lives. No, the Allied powers will finish them off, annihilate them, and vice versa. If the Allies are on the brink of losing, do you think the Axis powers are going to say, okay, that's enough? No, they will do the same. They will finish them off. So in other words, this is a fight to the death. Last man standing, last nation standing, last empire or whatever standing. So that's my warning. Don't listen to the idiots that are saying that strategic nuclear weapons will not be used. Of course they will be. So stop sitting around waiting for all this to go away. It won't. Get underground into a bunker if you can. And if you can't, for God's sake, at least get yourself to an isolated part of the country, away from the cities, because they will be hit first. And if you get out of them, you are giving yourself half a chance at least. But eventually with the fallout, nowhere will be safe. But let's just hope it's just us that's nuking them, and not them that's nuking us, but the most likely scenario will be all sides nuking each other. This will be the culmination of what we're seeing right now. What is it? The death toll worldwide. I believe it's like 42 or 3 million. That's nothing. That is nothing. That's a skirmish in comparison to what we are going to see. And, you know, I really hate to be the bearer of bad news. I really do. But that's the reality of the situation. There's no point in hiding from it. I have done all I can do my side. I have stocked up on enough supplies to last 3 years. I do not have a bunker, and that is something I should have invested in for myself and my family many years ago. That is something I regret, but I am as prepared as I can be for what is coming down the line. And it is not too late for you yet, but very soon it will be. Listen to me, start putting some plans in place to secure or heighten the percentages of survival for you and your loved ones right now. Not tomorrow, right now. Time is running out. Remember, before all this happened and people were saying World War III was going to kick off, were you one of those who said, nah, it's not going to happen? Well, look where we are now. Get prepared while you still can. That's all I can say. I am no Nostradamus, but I don't need to be to see what's coming, and you ought to see it too. Think of your families, get some head smarts, get prepared.
A grave warning. The world as we know it is on the brink of annihilation, poised at the precipice of a nuclear abyss. Intelligence reports from our most trusted sources indicate that the leaders of China and Russia are preparing to unleash their devastating strategic nuclear missiles upon Europe and the United States. The intent is clear: to obliterate our nations and plunge the world into an unimaginable catastrophe. We cannot afford to wait any longer. The West must act now, decisively and with unwavering resolve. We must launch a preemptive strike against China and Russia before they can carry out their heinous plans. I know that the thought of nuclear war is abhorrent, but let us not be naive. Our inaction will only embolden our enemies and condemn us all to a horrific fate. It is better to strike first and preserve our way of life than to wait for the inevitable and perish in the flames of nuclear hell. The lives of billions hang in the balance. Our children, our grandchildren, and generations to come will curse our memory if we fail to act. We owe it to ourselves, to our loved ones, and to all of humanity to do everything in our power to avert this impending doom. We stand at a crossroads, a point of no return. We can choose to cower in fear, to surrender our freedom to the whims of tyrants, or we can fight back. We must fight back. We must strike first. This is not a decision taken lightly. It is a decision born of necessity, a decision dictated by the very survival of our world. We cannot allow these monstrous regimes to dictate our fate. We must seize the initiative. We must defend ourselves. We must ensure that the light of freedom does not flicker and die. This is not a call for war, but a call for self-preservation. This is not a call for aggression, but a call for justice. This is a call for the world to stand together, to stand united against the forces of darkness, to ensure that the seeds of hope and liberty do not wither and perish in the flames of nuclear war. We must act now, before it is too late. We must act decisively, we must act with courage, we must act for the future of our children, for the future of all humanity. Let us rise to this challenge. Let us meet this threat head-on. Let us make clear to the world that freedom will triumph, that justice will prevail, and that the light of civilization will never be extinguished. Thank you.
Some will say that we must not strike first, that we must wait for them to make the first move. But I ask you, what kind of future awaits us if we allow our enemies to dictate our fate? What kind of world will we leave our children if we stand idly by while they unleash the unimaginable? We will not let them have the final say. We will not be victims. We will not be lambs led to the slaughter. We stand at the crossroads of history, and the choice is clear. Fight or die.
While the drums of war beat a deafening rhythm across the globe, I stand before you today with unwavering clarity. South Africa will not be drawn into this conflict. We are not partisans. We are not a pawn in the game of global power. We are a nation dedicated to peace, to the pursuit of a future where life, not death, reigns supreme. While millions around the world suffer, while families are torn apart, while the innocent are slaughtered in droves, we cannot lose sight of our core values. We cannot allow ourselves to be consumed by the same hatred and barbarity that has driven humanity to this dark hour. The images of senseless violence, the echoes of gunshots echoing through the streets, the unspeakable horrors being inflicted upon innocents. These are not the echoes of a distant past. These are the chilling realities of a world descending into chaos. Today, the ghost of the past haunts us anew. We see the echoes of Nazism in the cold, calculated brutality of this conflict. We see the senseless slaughter of innocent civilians, the desecration of humanity, the systematic dehumanization of entire populations. This cannot be our future. We, the people of South Africa, stand as a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. We stand as a testament to the enduring power of dialogue, of diplomacy, of a future where the strength of nations is measured not by their weapons, but by their compassion. We call upon all nations to lay down their arms and embrace the path of peace. We call upon the leaders of the world to remember their responsibility to humanity, to end this senseless bloodshed, and to build a future where peace prevails. Let us not become just another chapter in the grim chronicle of human conflict.
Let us be the generation that stands against the tide of violence, that breaks the cycle of hatred and revenge, and builds a world where peace, justice, and love reign supreme. Thank you.
Heavy heart, but with a clear and resolute mind. We are in the midst of a crisis, a world war like no other. Our enemies are ruthless, and they have made it clear that they will stop at nothing to destroy us. For too long we have hesitated, hoping that diplomacy would prevail. But our enemies have shown us that they do not understand the language of peace. They only understand force. The time has come for us to take action. We cannot sit back and wait for our enemies to strike first. We must strike them, and we must strike them now. I am calling on the American president to authorize the use of nuclear weapons against China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Yes, you heard me right. It is time for us to end this war just as we did in World War II. I know that this is a difficult decision. I know that the use of nuclear weapons will have catastrophic consequences. But we must remember that the consequences of inaction will be far greater. Our enemies have already shown us what they are capable of. They have attacked us, and they have killed our citizens. They have threatened us, and they have made it clear that they will not rest until we are destroyed. We cannot let this stand. We cannot let this stand. We cannot allow our enemies to dictate the terms of this war. We must take the fight to them. I know that some of you may have doubts. I know that some of you may worry about the moral implications of using nuclear weapons, but we must remember that this is a war. And in war, there are no easy choices. We have a responsibility to protect our citizens. We have a responsibility to defend our way of life. And we have a responsibility to stand up to tyranny and oppression. We cannot do this by hiding behind our borders. We cannot do this by hoping that our enemies will go away. We must take action. The use of nuclear weapons is not a decision that we take lightly. But we must remember that our enemies have already used chemical weapons. They have already attacked our ships, and they have already killed our citizens. We cannot allow this to continue. We must take a stand. I urge the American president to take decisive action. I urge him to authorize the use of nuclear weapons against our enemies. It is time for us to end this war once and for all. God bless America, and God bless our brave men and women in uniform.
Well, some pretty scary rhetoric there. A lot of leaders around the world now seem to be encouraging the use of nuclear weapons, strategic nuclear weapons, capable of taking out entire cities with one hit. And as much as I want an end to this, their arguments for me are not very convincing, and this type of talk is only going to force the Axis powers into a situation where they think they have no other choice but to nuke us first, before we do it to them. So instead of pursuing a path of peace, this seems like a drastic spiral into the unknown. It is very, very scary. These are our leaders, supposedly put in power to protect and serve us, but instead their words only endanger us further. Not long ago we were talking about diplomacy, the need to arrange peace talks, and find a resolution. Now that's shifted to simply just nuking each other off the planet. Where is the one person with a bit of
Get rid of me, y'all. I am the mother-loving brother Huggins, DJ Apocalypse, rockin' hips. I know damn well you feeling this. My brothers, my sisters, love and peace, y'all. Heed the call, write it on the wall. I got love for all y'all out there. Some crazy ass talk going out there right now. Politicians in all their wisdom talking about nuking a bunch of places, time for action, time to strike first, all that. Yo, what crazy ass puppet master, string pulling, psycho ass ventriloquist has got their hand up these so-called leaders' asses, getting them to talk all this BS? Yo, here I am preaching love and peace to all, and we got these nuke loving, crazy ass, cat stroking, creepy as shit wannabe Bond villains talking about it being time to start nuking shit, y'all. You know me, y'all. I'm all about the positivity, but for real, there's some negativity creepy in there, man. I actually think These bat shit crazy suits and ties might do it. Might start hitting Russia, China, and that fat Lego hair looking mother flubber in North Korea. Yeah, I think they might do it. Damn, it sounds almost like a done deal, y'all. I mean, I was smoking a big fat Scooby Dooby earlier, y'all. And when I exhaled, the smoke made the shape of a mushroom cloud above my head like an omen of what's to come. I was just looking at it, envelop the ceiling, creepy down the walls. And I was like, shit, it's coming. That's an omen right there. I hate to say it, but yeah, man, I feel we're getting real close. But DJ Apocalypse's spirit won't be crushed. I refuse to let it be crushed. If I let it be crushed, they win, and same for you. If you let them crush your spirit, they win. It don't matter who, the Chinese, the Russians, the president, the ventriloquist with his hand up the president's ass. If you let them crush your spirit, then they win. So don't let that happen. I'm gonna be spreading in that love, dishing out that peace until the skin melts off my face while I'm still standing, y'all. Giving and getting positive vibes until my ass is toast. Speaking words of encouragement in the face of despair until I am reduced to microscopic pieces of radioactive dust. And most important of all, I'm gonna be playing my tunes for all y'all out there until the walls of my studio are pulverized with me in it. Gotta keep banging out those hymns, man. Urban hymns, y'all. And if these are some of my final words, then so be it. So go hug your mama, hug your pops, hug your brother, your sister, your wife, your husband, your sons. Embrace your daughters, your friends, hug your pets, hug whoever, smile, lift each other's spirits, forgive, let go of hate. Go out knowing you've made peace with yourself and those around you. Love is all that matters, man. The love you show in this life, not the fancy ass cars or mansion in the hills or how many digits you got in the bank. Not how many Instagram followers you got, or the TikTok likes and thousands of comments, not the newest gadgets, or the $20,000 watch on your wrist. All that won't mean nothing in the last moments when they burn in the flames of war. But when you look at the ones you love and realize that it could be the last time you ever see them, you will know what really mattered in this life. Anyway, I gotta bust out another freestyle, man. I ain't the world's greatest rapper. I just don't got the voice for it. I know that, but that ain't gonna stop me. I like doing it, and I do what I like if it ain't harming nobody. So I gotta pick a good one here, man. Let me see, bear with me. One set, yo, I think I gotta, this one is gonna be for all y'all out there. I ain't got no idea where I'm gonna go with this, but here we go, y'all. DJ Martha Loving Apocalypse, rocking those hips, nibbling on those BJ lips, and spanking all them wobbly bits, y'all. Here we go. In the chaos of World War III's reign, as cities crumble and nations strain, amidst the carnage and nuclear fire, I rise with a message to fan love's pyre. Though destruction surrounds, I refuse to despair, for love's flame flickers, an unyielding prayer. In the ashes of war, let compassion ignite, to heal broken hearts and restore the light. Millions perish, their cries lost in the roar, but we must not succumb to fear's corrosive core. Instead, let us stand together, hand in hand, united by love, an unbreakable band. Though the world burns, let our hearts stay true, spreading love's balm like morning dew. From every continent, let empathy soar, a beacon of hope forevermore. For even in the darkest of days, love finds its way to comfort the weary and guide the astray. So let us walk through the flames with courage bold and spread love's message. It never gets old. Till our final breath, let our spirits ignite love's unyielding power, a shining light. For in the end, love will triumph. I decree, and from the ashes we'll rise. You wait and see. You wait and see. You wait and see. Yo, in this world of strife where there is no peace or regard for life, they claim to hold the answers, but it's all just a ruse for the world's deepest problems they cannot diffuse. cities crumble, reduced to dust. The wars never end, for kill each other we must. The endless cycle of bloodshed and pain, we say we've learned our lesson, but we just do it again. Nuclear bombs may shatter stone, but love builds bridges where hope is sown. Laughter disarms the weight of despair, a beacon of joy, a breath of fresh air. For amid the destruction, love's essence thrives, a potent antidote that keeps us alive. It's a shelter from fear, a beacon of grace, a force that transcends the horrors we face. As bombs explode, I dance with death, my heart ablaze, a sacred breath. I've seen the depths of despair and strife, but amidst the darkness, I found my light. The eve of the end has come. The final chapter of the book's begun. The eve of the end has come. The final chapter of the book's begun.